I sat in that high-end law office watching my fiancée Amanda talk animatedly with her lawyer. The afternoon sun filtered through the blinds, casting golden streaks across the mahogany table where our future was being negotiated. 2 years of what I thought was perfect love had led us here planning our wedding and discussing our finances. Then suddenly Amanda turned to me, her eyes cold as winter ice. "You cannot touch my money. It is all mine." I felt my heart crack, but I just smiled and walked away. If you are watching this, drop a comment telling me where you are from and hit that like and subscribe button. Trust me, you will want to see what happened when I walked out of that prenup meeting. I met Amanda at a charity gala for a local children's hospital 2 years ago. She was this stunning woman in a red dress, confidently moving through the crowd. I was there representing my software engineering company, which had donated a significant sum to the cause. When our eyes met across the room, I felt a jolt of electricity I had not experienced in years. "The silent auction ends in 10 minutes, she said, appearing at my side without warning. "I have already placed my bid," I replied, gesturing toward the sheet for a weekend getaway package. She glanced at it and smiled. "Darren Ellis. Well, Darren, I just outbid you." That was my introduction to Amanda Calloway, financial director for her family's investment firm, Calloway Enterprises. She was sharp, ambitious, and undeniably magnetic. We exchanged business cards, and I called her the very next day. Our first date was at an upscale restaurant downtown, where a bottle of wine cost more than my first car payment. Amanda ordered without looking at prices, casually mentioning her recent vacation in the Maldives. I was comfortable financially as a successful software engineer with my own consulting business, but I quickly realized Amanda existed in a different financial stratosphere. "My family has been in finance for 3 generations, she explained between sips of wine. "My grandfather started with nothing and built an empire. My father tripled that empire. Now it is my turn to continue the legacy." I admired her ambition and drive. She seemed impressed by my own path too, asking thoughtful questions about my work and how I had built my business from scratch. "I respect people who make their own way," she said. "Too many people in my circle were just born into wealth. They never had to work for anything." During those early months, we connected on many levels. Amanda was well-read, had a wicked sense of humor, and challenged me intellectually. We both loved hiking old movies and trying exotic cuisine. The fact that she came from money and I was solidly upper middle class never seemed important when we were climbing mountain trails or debating the merits of Alfred Hitchcock films. 6 months into dating, we had our first conversation about money when planning a trip to San Francisco. "Let me book the hotel," she offered. "I get corporate rates through family connections." "I can cover my half," I insisted. Amanda frowned slightly. "Darren, you do know I could buy the hotel if I wanted, right? Let me handle this." "I appreciate the offer, but I prefer to pay my own way," I said. She studied me for a moment, then nodded. "That is actually refreshing. Most guys I date expect me to pay for everything once they find out my family background." We reached a compromise where I paid for certain things and she covered others. It seemed fair, even though what she considered her part often cost 3 times what I spent. It worked for us. After dating for a year, we moved in together. I suggested a place halfway between our offices, a nice 2-bedroom condo that fit my budget. Amanda laughed when she saw the listing. "Darren, this is sweet, but I already own a penthouse downtown. It makes more sense for you to move in with me." I hesitated. "The rent in that area is way beyond what I can justify spending." "You would not pay rent," she said, as if it were obvious. "I own it outright." "I cannot live somewhere without contributing," I explained. We went back and forth until reaching another compromise. I would move into her penthouse but pay for utilities and groceries. Looking back, I should have noticed how all our compromises somehow felt slightly imbalanced, with Amanda making small concessions while maintaining control. Living together revealed new dimensions to our relationship. Amanda had very specific tastes and expectations. The first time I loaded the dishwasher, she rearranged everything. When I brought home takeout in plastic containers, she made a face and mentioned environmental concerns. Small things, but they accumulated over time. You know what would look great in this corner? A Nakashima table, she said one evening, gesturing to a spot where my old bookshelf stood. What is a Nakashima table? I asked. She showed me on her phone. It was beautiful, but when I saw similar ones priced at over $20,000, I nearly choked. Maybe something similar but more in my price range, I suggested. Amanda rolled her eyes playfully. I would buy it silly. Consider it an investment piece. Gradually, my belongings were replaced with items Amanda selected. My comfortable couch disappeared in favor of a designer piece that looked better than it felt. My movie posters were relegated to the home office while abstract art took their place. None of these changes were forced exactly, but they happened with a subtle persistence that was hard to resist. Despite these small tensions, our relationship flourished in many ways. We enjoyed traveling together, had a great circle of friends, and genuinely made each other laugh. I loved her determination and confidence, and she seemed to appreciate my more grounded perspective. When I decided to propose, I saved for 6 months to buy a ring. It was not the largest diamond, but it was high quality with a unique setting from a local jeweler. I proposed during a sunset hike in Hawaii, getting down on one knee as the sky turned brilliant shades of orange and pink. Amanda said yes immediately, throwing her arms around me. It was perfect until later that evening when she really examined the ring. Is this 1 carat? She asked, turning it under the hotel room light. Just under, I admitted. But the clarity is excellent, and the setting is handcrafted. She forced a smile. It is beautiful, Darren. Very you. The next morning she brought it up again. I was thinking maybe we could look at some other options while we are here. There is a jewelry designer in Honolulu my mother loves. You do not like the ring? I asked, feeling a knot form in my stomach. I love that you proposed. The ring is just smaller than I imagined wearing for the rest of my life. That was our first real fight. I felt judged and undervalued while Amanda could not understand why I would not want to give her the best. I spent months saving for this ring, I told her. It means something to me. And I appreciate the gesture, but why not let me upgrade it? My family has an account with Tiffany. Because that is not how I want to start our marriage, with you buying your own engagement ring because mine is not good enough. We eventually reconciled, with Amanda keeping my ring and insisting she truly did love it. But something had shifted between us, a small crack in the foundation. Wedding planning brought more conflicts. Amanda's parents wanted to invite 300 people, most of whom I had never met. They talked about renting a historic mansion, flying in a chef from Paris, and having a designer create a custom gown. My parents, retired teachers with modest savings, offered to contribute what they could, which Amanda's family politely declined. We can handle everything, her father said. Just show up and enjoy the day. While that sounded generous, I quickly learned it came with strings. Every decision, from the venue to the menu to the music, was made by Amanda and her mother. When I suggested a band that my friend played in, they smiled patronizingly. We have already booked a 12-piece orchestra, Amanda's mother informed me. One evening, after another planning session where my input was basically ignored, Amanda broached a new topic. My father's lawyer suggested we should discuss a prenuptial agreement, she said casually, as though mentioning dinner plans. A prenup, I was surprised, though in retrospect I should not have been. It is standard for people in my financial position, she explained. Nothing personal, just smart business. Marriage is not a business arrangement, I countered. Part of it is, she insisted. Look, I love you, but I have responsibilities to my family company. This is non-negotiable, Darren. I reluctantly agreed to discuss it, not yet realizing what I was walking into. Amanda arranged everything for our prenuptial agreement meeting. She texted me the address of a prestigious law firm downtown, telling me to meet her there at 2 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon. I have arranged for an attorney to represent you, she added in her message. I can find my own lawyer, I replied, uncomfortable with her handling this aspect too. This one specializes in family law. Trust me, Darren, it will make everything smoother. When I arrived at the imposing glass building, Amanda was already there, sitting with an older man in an expensive suit who she introduced as Maxwell Brennan, her family's attorney for over 20 years. Beside him sat a younger woman with sharp eyes and a professional smile. This is Lisa Taylor, Amanda said. She will be representing you today. Lisa shook my hand firmly. I have reviewed the initial draft. We have a few things to discuss. I immediately felt at a disadvantage. Everyone else had seen this document except me. We settled into a conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Maxwell placed copies of a thick document in front of each of us. This is fairly standard, he began in a tone that suggested we were discussing something as routine as a cell phone contract. It outlines the separation of assets, both current and future provisions for termination of the marriage and protections for family business interests. I began reading, and with each paragraph my heart sank further. The standard agreement essentially stated that everything Amanda owned before and during our marriage would remain exclusively hers. Any property investments or assets acquired during our marriage would belong solely to whichever party's name appeared on the title or account, regardless of contribution from the other spouse. There were detailed clauses about Amanda's family business interests, her trust fund future inheritances, and even provisions for intellectual property. If we had children, there were stipulations about education funds that would remain under Amanda's control. Most concerning was a clause stating that in the event of divorce, regardless of duration of marriage or circumstances, I would have no claim to any increase in value of her separate property, even if my actions or support had contributed to that increase. "Do you have questions?" Darren Maxwell asked, noticing my extended silence. "Several," I said, turning to Lisa. "Is this actually standard? It seems extremely one-sided." Lisa cleared her throat. "There are certainly more balanced approaches we could discuss." Maxwell frowned. "The Calloway family has significant assets to protect. These provisions are necessary safeguards." "I understand protecting family business interests," I said, "but this agreement essentially says nothing will ever be shared between us, no matter what happens in our life together." "That is not quite accurate," Amanda interjected. "We would share living expenses and joint purchases. But everything of actual value remains yours alone," I pointed out. "I earned it," Amanda said, her tone sharpening. "It is my family's legacy. I am not trying to claim your family's money," I explained. "But marriage is supposed to be a partnership. This document treats me more like a tenant than a spouse." Maxwell leaned forward. "Perhaps we should discuss specific concerns rather than emotional responses. My concern is that this agreement assumes I am a potential gold digger rather than someone who loves Amanda. It is not about you personally," Maxwell insisted. "It is about protection against unforeseen circumstances." "Like me turning into someone who wants to take half her money?" I asked. Amanda's patience visibly thinned. "This is business, Darren. You are being irrational. Marriage is not just business," I repeated my earlier sentiment. "For someone in my position, it has to be partly business," she countered. "Do you know how many people have tried to get close to me because of my wealth? My last boyfriend literally had a plan to challenge any prenup I might present. And you think I am like that? No, but I cannot take that chance. My family has worked too hard for too long." Lisa attempted to mediate. "Perhaps we could modify some of these terms to better reflect the partnership aspect of marriage while still protecting core assets," such as Maxwell asked skeptically. Lisa suggested several alternatives, including a graduated sharing of assets based on years of marriage provisions for contributions to the household and joint ownership of certain future acquisitions. Maxwell dismissed most of these immediately. The Calloways are firm on these points. The discussion grew increasingly tense. I felt like I was negotiating a hostage release rather than planning a life with someone I loved. Amanda became more defensive, with each suggestion eventually snapping at her own lawyer when he momentarily seemed to consider one of Lisa's proposals. "This is why we are here," she said sharply. "To ensure my assets remain protected. Period. Even assets we might build together," I asked. "My income will always substantially outpace yours, Darren." "Let us be realistic," Amanda replied. "Whatever we build together will be primarily funded by me anyway." The room went silent. I stared at her, stunned by the cold assessment of our future together. "That is not the point," I finally said. "Marriage is not about keeping score." "Easy to say when you have less to lose," she retorted. Lisa tried again. Perhaps we should take a break and reconvene after everyone has had time to consider the options. There are no other options, Amanda declared firmly, turning to face me directly. You cannot touch my money. It is all mine. Ever. That is why we are here. Her words hung in the air, harsh and final. In that moment, I saw something clearly that I had been avoiding for months, maybe even years. This was the real Amanda, calculating and viewing our relationship through the lens of financial transactions. I took a deep breath and felt a strange calm settle over me. Without saying a word, I closed the document in front of me and slid it back across the table. I stood up, straightened my jacket, and offered a small, polite smile. I think I have seen everything I need to see, I said quietly. Amanda looked confused. What do you mean we have not finished? Actually, I think we have. Darren, do not be dramatic. Sit down so we can work this out. I maintained my calm exterior despite the hurricane of emotions inside me. There is nothing to work out. I wish you the best, Amanda. As I walked toward the door, Amanda called after me, her voice rising with disbelief. You cannot just leave in the middle of this. We have a wedding in 4 months. I paused at the doorway, turned back one last time. Not anymore, we do not. The last thing I saw was her shocked expression as the heavy door closed behind me. I spent that night at my friend Jake's apartment, my phone blowing up with calls and messages from Amanda. I turned it off after the 20th call, needing space to process what had happened. Jake, who had always been skeptical of Amanda, provided beer and a sympathetic ear. I knew she was materialistic, but man, that is cold, he said after I recounted the prenup meeting. I just keep thinking about all the signs I ignored, I admitted, staring at the ceiling from his couch. The way she reacted to the engagement ring. How she always made little comments about my car or my clothes. Remember when she refurnished your entire apartment? I nodded. And when she made that joke at the Christmas party about me being her charity case. She played it off as humor, but now I see it differently. The next morning, I turned my phone back on to find 37 missed calls, 28 text messages, and 14 voicemails. The messages evolved from angry, "How dare you embarrass me like that?" to manipulative, "If you really loved me, you would understand," to tearful, "Please call me back. I am sorry, we can work this out. I sent one text, I need time to think. Please respect that." Her response was immediate. "You are overreacting." This is standard for someone in my position. That phrase, "someone in my position," crystallized everything for me. Throughout our relationship, there had always been Amanda, and then there was me in our respective positions. Never truly equal partners. Over the next few days, as I stayed with Jake and arranged for a real estate agent to help me find a new apartment, I learned more about Amanda from our mutual friends. Apparently, she had a reputation I had somehow missed. She dated my colleague Brad before you, my friend Taylor, told me over coffee. He said she would constantly remind him that she was paying when they went out. Like she would actually say, "This meal costs more than you make in a day," and laugh about it. Another friend mentioned how Amanda had ended her previous engagement when her fiancé lost his executive job during company downsizing. She was out the door within 2 weeks of him losing that title. Everyone in our circle knew, but nobody wanted to tell you. Each revelation stung, but also confirmed I had made the right decision. I consulted a lawyer about legally untangling our lives, focusing on retrieving my personal belongings from her penthouse and ensuring I had no lingering financial connections to her. My lawyer advised me to document everything I had brought into the relationship and what I had contributed financially to our shared living expenses. Fortunately, I had maintained separate accounts and had records of all the utilities and groceries I had paid for. A week after walking out of the prenup meeting, I was preparing to collect my things from the penthouse when Amanda appeared at Jake's door. "Your doorman told me where to find you," she said when Jake reluctantly let her in. She looked different, her usual perfect appearance slightly disheveled, her eyes red-rimmed. "You should have called first," I said, maintaining distance between us. "You were not answering." "What choice did I have?" She took a step toward me. "Darren, I am sorry about what happened. I was nervous and let Daddy and Maxwell push me into a more aggressive position than I intended. It is not about the specific terms, Amanda. It is what they revealed about how you see me and our relationship." She reached for my hand. I let her take it feeling nothing but a dull ache where passion used to be. I will change the agreement, she offered. We can start over, make it fair. I just panicked. You know my family history with money. How my mother was taken advantage of by her first husband before she met my father. I had heard this story many times, how Amanda's mother's first marriage to a fortune hunter had ended with a messy, expensive divorce that became a formative story in the Calloway family mythology. This is not about the money, I said again. It is about trust and respect. You do not trust me, and you do not respect what I bring to this relationship because it cannot be measured in dollars. That is not true, she insisted. I love you. I respect you tremendously. You said my income would always be insignificant compared to yours, that anything we built together would really be because of your money. She winced. I was stressed and said things I did not mean. I think you meant exactly what you said. It was probably the most honest moment of our relationship. Amanda began to cry, something I had rarely seen in our 2 years together. Please, Darren, give me another chance. I will prove to you that our relationship means more than money to me. For a brief moment I wavered. I did love her, and the thought of starting over was exhausting. But then I remembered the cold look in her eyes when she said those fateful words in the lawyer's office. I need you to leave, Amanda. I will contact you through my lawyer about arranging a time to collect my things. Your lawyer, she looked shocked. We do not need lawyers between us. Actually, we do. That is one lesson I have definitely learned. She left eventually, but not before alternating between tears and anger, accusations and pleas. It was emotionally draining, but I held firm. The next day, an email arrived with a completely revised prenuptial agreement, one that was actually quite fair and balanced. Along with it came a message: I have fired Maxwell. This was drawn up by a new attorney. Please consider it. 2 days later, a massive flower arrangement arrived at Jake's apartment with an expensive watch I had once admired in a store window. The card read simply, I was wrong. Forgive me. A week after our confrontation, Amanda asked to meet at a neutral location, a quiet coffee shop downtown. She arrived with a small gift box and eyes full of hope. I have been doing a lot of thinking, she said after we ordered. You were right about everything. I let my family's fears about money cloud my judgment and ruin the best relationship I have ever had. She slid the box across the table. Inside was a simple band similar to the one I had given her, but sized for a man's finger. I want to start over, she said. No prenup. Just us building a life together based on trust. I looked at the ring, then back at her earnest face. Amanda, do you know what hurt the most? It was not the prenup itself. It was realizing that after 2 years together, you still saw me as a potential threat rather than a partner. I know that. Now, she whispered. I will spend the rest of my life making it up to you. That is just it, I said gently. I do not want someone who feels they need to make up for not trusting me. I want someone who trusts me from the beginning. People make mistakes, Darren. We can grow from this. I considered her words carefully. Some revelations cannot be undone. I cannot unhear what you said or unfeel what I felt in that moment. So that is it. One mistake and everything we built is just over. Her voice cracked with genuine pain. It was not one mistake. It was a pattern I finally recognized. I pushed the ring box back toward her. I wish you happiness, Amanda. I truly do. But it will not be with me. As I walked away from that coffee shop, I felt both tremendous loss and unexpected liberation. The future I had planned was gone, but so were the compromises I had not even realized I was making. In the months that followed my broken engagement, I rebuilt my life piece by piece. I found a modestly sized but comfortable apartment in a vibrant neighborhood I had always liked, but Amanda had considered too bohemian. I reconnected with friends I had seen less of during our relationship, people whose company did not revolve around expensive restaurants and exclusive clubs. The early days were hard. I would catch myself thinking of places Amanda and I had visited or inside jokes we had shared. Sometimes I would pick up my phone to tell her something before remembering we were no longer together. Grief came in waves, not just for the relationship, but for the future I had envisioned. I joined a support group for people recovering from breakups, which initially felt awkward but ultimately provided valuable perspective. There I met others who had experienced relationships with significant power imbalances, though not always financial ones. Their stories helped me recognize the subtle ways Amanda had exerted control throughout our time together. When someone keeps reminding you of what they give you, they are establishing a debt, not a gift, one group member observed during a session. That simple insight illuminated countless interactions from my relationship. I threw myself into work, taking on challenging projects that had excited me before, but that Amanda had subtly discouraged as too time-consuming or not lucrative enough. My consulting business thrived with this renewed focus, and I developed a new software platform that gained significant industry attention. 3 months after our breakup, I ran into Amanda at a technology conference where my company was presenting. She was there representing her family's investment firm. "You look good," she said, approaching my booth during a quiet moment. "I heard about your new platform. Very impressive." "Thank you," I replied, surprised by how normal my heart rate remained in her presence. "Are you seeing anyone?" She asked, a familiar, hopeful note in her voice. "Not currently. I am focusing on myself right now." She nodded. "I miss you, you know. The offer still stands." I smiled politely. "I appreciate that, but my decision has not changed." "I hoped time might give you perspective," she admitted. "It has," I told her. "Just not the perspective you were hoping for." We parted amicably, and I felt a sense of closure I had been missing. That evening at dinner with colleagues, I found myself genuinely laughing for what felt like the first time in months. 5 months post-breakup, I learned through mutual friends that Amanda was dating a successful surgeon she had met at a fundraiser. 2 months later, I heard they were engaged. According to gossip in our social circle, he had signed a prenuptial agreement very similar to the one I had rejected. Rather than feeling jealous or vindicated, I felt a strange combination of sympathy for her new fiancé and hope that perhaps Amanda had found someone whose values aligned better with hers. Maybe he truly did not care about the financial inequality, or perhaps he had his own wealth that made it less of an issue. 6 months after walking out of that prenup meeting, I attended a friend's wedding alone. It was a modest but beautiful ceremony in a garden, followed by a reception with simple, heartfelt touches. The genuine joy between the couple was palpable, and their vows focused on partnership, mutual support, and growing together. During the reception, I met Lauren, a friend of the bride who worked as an architectural engineer. We spent the evening talking about everything from structural design innovations to obscure documentaries we both loved. She was brilliant, unpretentious, and made me laugh without trying. When she mentioned taking the subway home, I offered to share my rideshare. "Split it 50-50, she suggested with a smile. "Absolutely," I agreed, feeling something warm and hopeful stir within me for the first time in a long while. As I reflect back on my journey, I realize that walking away from Amanda was both the hardest and best decision I ever made. Not because she was wealthy or because she wanted a prenup, but because our fundamental values about partnership were incompatible. I learned that true wealth is not measured in dollar amounts, but in respect, trust, and mutual support. I learned to recognize the warning signs of imbalanced relationships and to value my own worth beyond financial metrics. Most importantly, I learned that sometimes walking away is an act of self-respect rather than failure. If you are facing a similar situation in your relationship, whether it involves money or other forms of power imbalance, ask yourself this question: does this person see me as an equal partner or as something else? Your answer might illuminate the path forward. Have you ever had to make a difficult choice between love and self-respect? Share your story in the comments below. And if this resonated with you, please hit that like button, subscribe to hear more real-life experiences, and share with someone who might need this perspective today. Thank you for listening, and remember that your worth is never determined by a dollar sign or anyone else's assessment of your value.